In the journey of exploring the psyche, Carl Jung stands not only as an outstanding researcher, but also as a particularly insightful spiritual thinker. Through the pages of the Red Book, we delve into his intricate world, where he delves deeply into the human psyche, seeking not only profound understanding of the human mind, but also insights into the divine and the relationship between humanity and God. Herein lies a brief focus, a traverse through the reflections and unique realizations that Carl Jung has shared regarding the spiritual aspects of our existence and the distinctive connection with the divine. But the supreme meaning is the path, the way, and the bridge to what is to come. That is the God yet to come. It is not the coming God himself, but his image which appears in the supreme meaning. God is an image, and those who worship him must worship him in the images of the supreme meaning. The supreme meaning is not a meaning and not an absurdity. It is image and force in one, magnificence and force together. The supreme meaning is the beginning and the end. It is the bridge of going across and fulfillment. Believe me, it is no teaching and no instruction that I give you. On what basis should I presume to teach you? I give you news of the way of this man, but not of your own way. My path is not your path, therefore I cannot teach you. The way is within us, but not in God's, nor in teachings, nor in laws. Within us is the way, the truth, and the life. The spirit of this time, of course, allowed me to believe in my reason. He let me see myself in the image of a leader with ripe thoughts. But the spirit of the depths teaches me that I am a servant, in fact, the servant of a child. This dictum was repugnant to me and I hated it, but I had to recognize and accept that my soul is a child, and that my God in my soul is a child. Everything that becomes too old becomes evil. The same is true of your highest. Learn from the suffering of the crucified God that one can also betray and crucify a God, namely, the God of the old year. If a God ceases being the way the zenith, he must fall secretly. The God becomes sick if he oversteps the height of the zenith. That is why the spirit of the depths took me when the spirit of this time had led me to the summit. You say the Christian God is unequivocal, he is love. But what is more ambiguous than love? Love is the way of life, but your love is only on the way of life if you have a left and a right. No one has my God, but my God has everyone. Selfish desire ultimately desires itself. You find yourself in your desire, so do not say that desire is vain. If you desire yourself, you produce the divine Son in your embrace with yourself. Your desire is the father of the God. Yourself is the mother of the God, but the Son is the new God, your master. The prophet loved God, and this sanctified him. But Salome did not love God, and this profaned her. But the prophet did not love Salome, and this profaned him. Man doesn't only grow from within himself, for he is also creative from within himself. The God becomes revealed in him. Human nature is little skilled in divinity, and therefore man fluctuates between too much and too little. The God of words is cold and dead, and shines from afar like the moon, mysteriously and inaccessibly. Let the word return to its creator, to man, and thus the word will be heightened in man. Man should be light, limits, measure. The ancients called the saving word the logos, an expression of divine reason. So much unreason was in man that he needed reason to be saved. If one waits long enough, one sees how the gods all change into serpents and underworld dragons in the end. This is also the fate of the Logos. In the end, it poisons us all. In time, we were all poisoned, but unknowingly we kept the one, the powerful one, the eternal wanderer in us away from the poison. We spread poison and paralysis around us in that we want to educate all the world around us into reason. The divine primordial power is blind, since its face has become human. The human is the face of the Godhead. If the God comes near you, then plead for your life to be spared. Since the God is loving horror, the ancients said, it is terrible to fall into the hands of the living God. They spoke thus because they knew, since they were still close to the ancient forest, and they turned green like the trees in a childlike manner and ascended far away toward the east. I am the egg that surrounds and nurtures the seed of the God in me. Your voice is too weak for those raging to be able to hear. Thus do not speak and do not show the God, but sit in a solitary place and sing incantations in the ancient manner. Just as the disciples of Christ recognized that God had become flesh and lived among them as a man, we now recognize that the Anointed of this time is a God who does not appear in the flesh. He is no man, and yet is a son of man, but in spirit and not in flesh. Hence he can be born only through the spirit of men, as the conceiving womb of the God. Just as the disciples of Christ recognized that God had become flesh and lived among them as a man, we now recognize that the Anointed of this time is a God who does not appear in the flesh. He is no man, and yet is a son of man, but in spirit and not in flesh. Hence he can be born only through the spirit of men as the conceiving womb of the God. Who exhausts the mystery of love? There are those who love men, and those who love the souls of men, and those who love their own soul. Such a one is Philemon, the host of the gods. We must presumably often go to ourselves to re-establish the connection with the self, since it is torn apart all too often, not only by our vices, but also by our virtues. For vices as well as virtues always want to live outside, but through constant outer life we forget the self, and through this we also become secretly selfish in our best endeavors. What we neglect in ourselves blends itself secretly into our actions toward others. Through uniting with the self, we reach God. I believe that we have the choice. I preferred the living wonders of the God. I daily weigh up my whole life, and I continue to fiery brilliance of the God as a higher and fuller life than the ashes of rationality. The ashes are suicide to me. I could perhaps put out the fire, but I cannot deny to myself the experience of the God, nor can I cut myself off from this experience. I also do not want to, since I want to live. My life wants itself whole. Man shall differentiate himself both from spirituality and sexuality. He shall call spirituality mother, and set her between heaven and earth. He shall call sexuality phallos, and set him between himself and earth. For the mother and the phallos are superhuman daemons that reveal the world of the gods. They affect us more than the gods, since they are closely akin to our essence. Man is a gateway, through which you pass from the outer world of gods, daemons, and souls into the inner world, out of the greater, into the smaller world. Small and inane is man. Already he is behind you. And once again you find yourselves in endless space, in the smaller or inner infinity. Here the soul drew near to my ear and whispered, "The gods are even happy to turn a blind eye from time to time, since basically they know very well that it would be bad for life, if there were no exception to eternal law. Hence their tolerance of the devil. You have the one God, and you become your one God in the innumerable number of gods. You are the suffering heart of your one-star God, who is Abraxas to his world. You should call me if you want to live with men, but the one God, if you want to rise above the human world to the divine and eternal solitude of the star.